Paske li ok pou pa ok. Paske pale kapab rend bagay yo miyo. Paske eseye komunike se un signe fos. Toujou gon rezon pou pataje ki jan ou santi yo. Paske santé mentale ou konte.
So proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave, of the brave.
The amazing voices lift us all up. The importance and purpose of this project, the Housing Resource Center of Brockton, runs deep and long. It is to give our vulnerable neighbors a place of their own address, their own key to their private space. And importantly, the Resource Center will empower with on-site support to enable neighbors to get back on their feet. It is my pleasure today to introduce Mr. John Yazwinski, the President and CEO of Father Bills of MainSpring. He is the man with the passion, fortitude, and vision for this most honorable work. Please help us welcome John Yazwinski.
Thank you, Mary Catherine. Wow, wasn't that a wonderful, wonderful Well, we finally got here, Mayor. We did. I want to welcome everybody. I want to thank the Lieutenant Governor for joining us today. You know, Lieutenant Governor and I actually met a couple of years ago when the mayor hosted the mayors here in the city of Brockton, and the roadway project was just coming into play. The first hotel to housing conversion. And as you're driving out of town here, you'll see it right on your right as you're getting back onto the highway. And the mayor at the time, Driscoll, Mayor Sullivan must have been the campaign manager because he's like, she's running for the Lieutenant Governor and we need to support her. So, it worked out, didn't it? I want to thank all of our board of directors for having the belief and the confidence that we could make this new response to combat homelessness work. I still remember the board meeting at Arbella years ago when we presented, over 8 years ago, we presented this new plan, this new model of ending homelessness. And I'm not sure if everybody in the room truly believed we were going to pull it off. Today's the day the city of Brockton, the Plymouth County region, and all of our partners from the federal, state, and local officials to the private sector, to our individual donors, corporations and foundations, we're all today here making a large statement. We are saying we don't manage homelessness, we end homelessness. This new response, this new facility will prevent homelessness. It will divert people coming from other systems of care. We will rapidly rehouse anybody that comes into our building and doesn't have a place to stay tonight. And, of course, what we've always been committed to is permanent supportive housing, and we'll be developing 32 units and ending homelessness. What we have learned in the past 30 years is we can bring best practices, and many of those are our practices, to the front door of the shelter system, and more importantly, upstream in the community, and respond proactively and not wait for someone to walk in for a shelter bed. This new facility will have 3 major components: 24/7 day services operation, where we will work with people in a housing crisis. We will connect them to partner resources, including behavioral health, addiction, and recovery supports. We will run this HRC like a medical emergency, where we will triage and assess the person and intervene immediately. This program, this new facility will have a licensed healthcare clinic that will be run by Brockton Neighborhood Health Services. I know Sue Josh and the team are here. The second component, of course, is we will be taking down the MainSpring shelter, and we will, though, stay core to our mission and still provide emergency shelter for anybody, so nobody is sleeping on our streets. And of course, the third component is the 32 units of permanent housing, continuing to invest in the most cost-effective, compassionate, and long-term solution. We have over 700 units of permanent supportive housing at Father Bill's in MainSpring. 93% of the people stay more than 3 years. And like I told the team the last couple of days, and as I mentioned to Undersecretary Maddox, the Lieutenant Governor, we've got a project we're trying to do in Stoughton. We've got a few other places we're looking at. We're just getting started. So how did we get here? Well, I got a call from a good friend of mine, Bob Shemaker from the HUD office several years ago, and said, there's this Title V property going out for procurement. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. And he said, well, it's projects the federal government puts out, and it rarely ever goes to projects to serve the homeless people in this country. So we looked into it, we talked to the city and the mayor, and with great support from our mayor, with great support from both United States Senators, Congressman Lynch, our Brockton State delegation, all of our city councilors here, we put a bid in, a national bid, and we were able, with that great support, get the winning bid for this property. Then we were off. The challenge started. When you take the bid and you win it, you've got 3 years to get it operational. So we had to go out over the last 18 months and raise $19 million to be able to pull off this project. And all of these speakers and all their teams will be able to agree with Father Bill started advocating, asking. I've been going to all of you, begging, asking, advocating for this money. And really, really, I'm so excited that we are here breaking ground, and we are going to be starting construction in a matter of months. You know, this stuff doesn't happen overnight. It really takes great political will. And so, you know, I've gotten to know the mayor through COVID. I think he just started then. And, you know, we've been on the phones and Zooms over the last several years. And he was, so supportive of the roadway project, wanting to show that, not just to care in the middle of the crisis, but also to show people around the community that we can do conversions of other unused buildings. And when we got to this project, of course, this could have been something that the city did. Could have used this. But we agreed we'd work together and we'd come in and make a bold statement with a new model, not just for the city of Brockton and the state, but for the country, I believe, Mayor. So without further ado, I really appreciate Mayor Sullivan's partnership and friendship, and I welcome him to say a few words today.
First of all, Brockton is called the City of Champions for a reason, right? And this is a champion effort today. I want to thank my dear friend, the former Mayor of Salem, Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll, for joining us here today. I want to thank the Undersecretary. I want to thank all our county officials, the state delegation, city council. I want to thank all the board members for Father Bill's MainSpring. I want to thank my team. I do want to thank U.S. Senators and Congressman Lynch. I was just down with him last week looking for more money for Brockton. This is a game changer. People have said to me, Bob, why are you supporting this? And my answer is quite simple. We're in the people business. We need to help people. Help people, that's why we serve, right? It's to help people that have a roof over their heads and those that have found themselves homelessness. No one chooses to be homeless. There's variables on while they're on the streets, right? Alcohol and drugs and mental health. And maybe they lost their house in the foreclosure epidemic. But this is a game changer. This today is something that's going to be a model, as John said, a national model. And it's through collaboration, right? It's about coming up with an idea. You can always figure out the money, right, John? We figured out the money, and I want to say, you can always figure out the money. But I think it's what the goal is, right? What is the shared vision? The shared vision is to help people, right? And to make sure that we give them a roof over their head, we give them medical, we give them job creations, we give them just the skills to succeed. I want to recognize Mayor Jack Units from the City of Champions and the former Mayor of Braintree, Joe Sullivan, for being here. Mayor Units had this vision a long time ago. And so the fact that Jack is here today because it's come to fruition speaks volumes. So Mayor, thank you for being here. When we turn back time and we think about the pandemic, I did take office 6 weeks before the pandemic, right? January 6, 2020. And at that time, I remember having an all-hands-on-deck meeting in City Hall. And John was there. John was one of the first people to be there. It was Brockton Hospital signature, and I know those folks are here. Matt Hesketh and his team at Good Samaritan Medical Center. And the VA, don't forget our dear friends right here, the neighbors at the VA, Sue Joss and Dr. Chelly, our friends at High Point, everybody, right? And I remember saying this, and I could be blunt at times, right? It's the Irish in me. I said, I don't really care about competition. I don't care about who you get reimbursed from and what do you get from Blue Cross. And I don't care about that. It's about working together. And we were able to save lives. Now, we weren't able to save everybody, right? 536 people died here in the city of Brockton because of COVID. But that magic day of May 11th is around the corner. You know what that means? That ends the pandemic. But what didn't end is the struggles of those on the streets. And the first thing we did, and I have to thank the former governor, I have to thank Charlie Baker and Lieutenant Governor Karen Polito, the first thing we did was we knew the pandemic was going to run rampant in our homeless population. Father Bill's on any given night has a lot of people in that building, right? So what we did was we used the city park right next door, and we put tents up there, and we were able to social distance and do everything, and that saved lives. And then we were doing vaccines and boosters. But the goal was to leave downtown Brockton and come here. And there's a nice little law called the McKenty Vento that allowed this to come to fruition today. Now again, why I'm here today as the mayor is to say thank you, John, and your team, what you do in Quincy with Mayor Koch and his team. Again, they're only city of presidents, we're the city of champions, and I tell Tommy that all the time. But I will tell you, it's people that are giving back. The late Mr. Conway, and Carol is here today, his daughter. People that really aren't connected to Brockton. They're not Brocktonians. They weren't born here at the Brockton Hospital like I was. But they understand that Brockton is a special place because we're better together. And what's good for Brockton is good for Plymouth County, and it's good for the region. And that's why the county came up with $350 grand out of ARPA money. When I went down there with John to testify before Tom O'Brien and the 3 commissioners, they could have told us to hit the door, but they didn't, because they're public servants. They understand what it means to make a difference. A lot of times we just need to give people an opportunity and a chance. And so the taboo of being homeless, let me make this clear. It's block your ears, kids that are here. It's bullshit, okay? It's about making sure that people have the recipe for success and those building blocks for success. So as long as I'm mayor of Brockton, we are going to continue to help the homeless population. They're my constituents, those that live in a house and those that live on the street. But this here is something that's going to save lives, give hope to people that are in despair. So again, I want to thank you, John, and it's my honor to say today that my dear friend and our wonderful, awesome Lieutenant Governor that's working with our awesome Governor, Maura Healey, who hit the ground running, Kim Driscoll is here today. Lieutenant Governor, thank you for what you do.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here in Brockton, and you certainly have a mayor who's a champion for the city of Champions. So thank you very much, Mayor Sullivan, for everything you're doing. Not every community welcomes the type of housing we need in Massachusetts. And I think Brockton really stands out, not only for this project, for the housing that you've created throughout the community, market rate housing, affordable housing. Right now we have a 200,000 housing unit gap in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We need every community stepping up to meet the needs related to housing, and it's across the spectrum. So I really want to thank you and the team that's here in Brockton, including your legislative delegation. I saw Rep. Cassidy, Rep. Dubois, new Rep Mendez, and I think Senator Brady had a representative here as well. Like, a lot of the support that we're able to provide to housing from the state is because we have a legislative delegation who's plugged in, working in support of these projects and initiatives. And always great to be with Plymouth County Treasurer O'Brien and Commissioner Jared with respect to that regional support that's necessary to build strong neighborhoods. And as I was here with John and we were touring this facility, I felt like you were showing a proud homeowner, showing me your new home. And for many people, this will be their home. And that's why I'm really excited to be here. For too many of our neighbors, family members, and friends that don't always feel welcome, who find themselves without a secure roof over their head, this incredible project that we're all here to celebrate is going to make a huge difference. I wish we had 25 or 30 more of them throughout the Commonwealth, because that's how great the need is. And one of the reasons these projects are hard to do, and it takes time to pull them together, is because they're complicated in the amount of financing. And I really want to thank our team from DHCD, Jennifer Maddox, Kate Racer. I think we have taken every funding. I think we're using every particular program we have to help fund this, and that's what it takes to really make these projects work. And this is the future in terms of providing not only the roof over the head, but the supportive services. We're meeting people where they're at. A day center with a low barrier to entry. An opportunity to build that trust, connect with people with whatever services they need, from health to recovery services. And then the emergency shelter and the permanent supportive housing, like so critical to keep people sustainably housed, particularly our chronic homeless population, who for too long have struggled with a whole lot of different models that don't work. So I'm excited to be here as a part of a new administration. Both Governor Healey and I have a great deal of gratitude to be in these positions. We're proud to be the first 2 women in the corner office leading Massachusetts. A lot of gratitude for that. We feel like folks are rooting for us, but with that also comes this responsibility to steward the resources, the policies, the power of convening that we have, and particularly with regard to this issue. No matter what community we're in, it's a big state, 351 cities and towns.
Only one city of champions, LG.
City of champions, city of presidents, city of witches, no matter where we are. In every community, like, housing is the #1 issue. Even in places as you head out to Western Mass and Central Mass, housing might be a little bit more affordable. It's not more affordable to the people who are living there. We see this as the #1 task to address the human rights part of why we're in this work, which is making sure that we're delivering for people a better quality of life, but the competitiveness as well. If we have individuals who can't afford to live here, whether they're young adults or folks who want to age in place with dignity, it's a disadvantage for our entire Commonwealth. So we are working in concert with communities, with housing providers, both for-profit, non-profit, for vulnerable populations, for market rate housing, to ensure that we're meeting our housing goals every day. Part of that is creating a new housing cabinet, a new housing secretariat, housing livable communities, and a big part of that is working with all of you to ensure that more of our communities are putting their hand up to say yes to housing. Housing on formerly public land, housing that meets our vulnerable population, housing that really recognizes that without it, we're not a better Commonwealth. And so I'm grateful to be here. Can't wait to come back. We're here for the groundbreaking. That means we're here for the ribbon cutting. And can't wait to see all of you.
Thank you, John. So appreciate that. My mother, Patty, would love to be here today, but she's getting up there in years, and the big events are starting to tire her. But she's with us in spirit and in heart, and so thank you for those kind words. I want to thank the Lieutenant Governor for your support and the support of the Governor's office. This is so important for our communities and for our state, so it really means so much to us for you to be here. And to Mayor Sullivan, your words were awesome. I'm not going to repeat that word in front of my children, but I was with you 100%. So that was great. And Kim, you had mentioned, I sort of felt this little heartbeat watching John walk through the tour as well. It's like his baby. And I thought to myself, once John has fulfilled his goal of ending homelessness, we have a job for him at Jack Conway selling houses. So congratulations to John and the entire team, everybody here that took part in this incredible day that we are gathered here. Today is a day of celebration, of a solution. Of course, it's pouring rain. Hopefully you can all hear me okay. This is a solution towards a better future for members of our community, a solution filled with possibilities. I represent, as John said, the entire Jack Conway family today. With me are three of my wonderful children. My husband and I have 4 children, Katie Clifford, Corey Nagel, and Michael Bowman. And together we make up 3 generations, beginning with my mom and dad, Pat and Jack Conway, of doing one small part to end homelessness. Because if each of us does one small part, together we can literally move mountains. And the Housing Resource Center is certainly proof of that. Over 30 years ago, long before there was a Father Bill's MainSpring together, there was a group of people in Brockton, the Brockton Coalition for Homeless, that recognized a dire need. Working as a volunteer for Catholic Charities, my mother, Pat Conway, together with incredible pioneers such as the late Marie Sheehan, answered the call to end homelessness in Brockton with the building of a homeless shelter. I was so happy when I turned around today and saw Mayor Jack Unitz today, because right here in my notes, I said that Mayor Jack Unitz stepped up to assist the charge of opening up a homeless shelter. He identified a property on the corner of Main and Spring Street that you're all familiar with as the ideal spot, but of course it took lots of money. The state fortunately stepped in to provide 75% of the money needed through a grant, and the rest of the money needed to be raised through private donations. My mom, the full-time volunteer that she was, came home one night and shared their plight with my dad. And he, together with business owners, social and political leaders throughout Brockton and beyond, got together and they raised the additional $50,000 that was needed to open the doors at MainSpring House. $50,000 back then might have been $50 million, but they did it working together as a community. So my dad answered the call for 2 reasons. First, because my mom asked him to. That might have been the reason. But mostly, and I was talking to my mom a little bit about this yesterday, My dad always considered him a real estate guy. His job was to help people realize the American dream. And that could be in the form of purchasing or renting a home. But he always felt honored to be able to help people with that American dream. It pained my dad when he heard the stories that my mother would share to know that while so many people were able to afford a home, there were so many, many others that could not. I share this story of my mom and dad for several reasons. First, because history is important, and the leaders that paved the way for us to be here today must be remembered and recognized. Second, this is a story of community members rolling up their sleeves, just like you are all doing today and have done to get us here, to help fellow community members. And third, it's a story of family and building hope for generations to come. In the literature of Father Bill's MainSpring on the HRC project, there is a commitment to children of our community. Most of you are probably aware of this quote. The promise is this: we're committed to making sure no child is forced to sleep outside or in a car. I'm a grandmother of 10 beautiful children, 4 girls and 6 boys. The thought of any of those children living in a car or outside is completely unacceptable to me. And I'm certain unacceptable to every single person in this room. You might even wince when you think about that idea of a child that you love sleeping outside. But it happens, doesn't it? If you're here today, you know that children, their parents, their grandparents, and their siblings are sleeping outside and in cars. Because if they weren't, we would not need to be here today. The homeless adults of today are the children, teenagers, and young adults of yesterday, struggling in families pushed to the brink by addiction, job loss, family dysfunction, and mental health challenges. But long before a person lives on the streets, they lost their family and their community support. And somewhere in between losing family support and being on the streets, they lost their way. Because if a family system is not healthy and strong, those who need the help will fall through the cracks. In the absence of a supportive system, we as a community must. We have an absolute responsibility to step in. The Housing Resource Center provides the community system when a person suffering has no one else, or maybe just needs a little bit more. The HRC provides solutions through job skills, recovery support, mental health resources, peer support, and a love and caring community. The HRC provides hope for those suffering today so they can avoid homelessness tomorrow. I am beyond grateful for the inspiration and unwavering commitment of John and his entire team of heroes. They identified a need and they filled it. The need to preempt homelessness by providing a solution. Coming together as a community of business people, politicians, and community activists, we can literally change the trajectory of a person's life and their children's lives and their grandchildren's lives. With proactive and early intervention, we can avoid the reality of children living in cars by helping their future mom or dads with the support they need for their physical, their mental, and their spiritual lives. What a responsibility. But what an opportunity. Today marks a celebration for hope for the future. The groundbreaking for this amazing HRC will give a place of possibilities, provide solutions, and give hope for a better future. I want to congratulate John, the board of directors, and every single person in this room who did their part to make this happen. I have a favorite expression. What is the best way to eat an elephant? One bite at a time. You all took your bite. You did your part. And because of that, this incredible organization will break ground very soon. So I congratulations, John, and thank you, everybody.
When you have a project and you're planning on going to the state, you need to do pre-development, you need to do your diligence, you've got to spend money, even though you may not get the project. And so, or you ask for a lot of money for an acquisition loan. CDAC and Roger have been there for us for so many projects, but for this one, they came in real early, knowing how we had less than a 5% chance at the time having a conversation with him about how difficult the Title V property could be. Roger and his team did so much behind the scenes work to understand Title V, to understand the funding sources that could be leveraged in the Commonwealth, what we should take, what we shouldn't take, so we would get the project done on time. So with that, Roger, thank you for all of your support and your continued confidence to give us money very early on.
Congratulations on meeting this incredible milestone. And I also want to thank Lieutenant Governor Driscoll for not just being here, but making it a priority that housing is a priority for this administration. And so we know that the solution to homelessness is housing. Simple, right? Unfortunately, we all know that housing development is not for the faint of heart. And despite the efforts of many in this room, it's still not happening fast enough to meet the demand. In the meantime, we need strong community partners like Father Bill's to help Massachusetts continue to have one of the lowest unsheltered rates in the nation for both families and individuals. This is going to be a game changer, this project for the region, and we are so happy to play a role in this project and making it happen. Now, in light of today's major lineup, I want to pass this along to our friend Roger Herzog at CDAC, which plays a critical role in our support of our pipeline of permanent supportive housing projects. Thank you and congratulations.
When you have a project and you're planning on going to the state, you need to do pre-development, you need to do your diligence, you've got to spend money, even though you may not get the project. And so, or you ask for a lot of money for an acquisition loan. CDAC and Roger have been there for us for so many projects, but for this one, they came in real early, knowing how we had less than a 5% chance at the time having a conversation with him about how difficult the Title V property could be. Roger and his team did so much behind the scenes work to understand Title V, to understand the funding sources that could be leveraged in the Commonwealth, what we should take, what we shouldn't take, so we would get the project done on time. So with that, Roger, thank you for all of your support and your continued confidence to give us money very early on.
Good morning. It's a real honor to join the mayor, Lieutenant Governor Driscoll, Undersecretary Maddox, and many public and private partners for this exciting event. Congratulations to Father Bill's, its board and staff, and talented development team for its excellent management of the complex processes that have brought us to this important milestone. Developing and managing emergency shelter and permanent supportive housing for persons experiencing homelessness is a very challenging and critically important undertaking. Coordinating the funding systems in the human services sector. That's the supports in supportive housing. And the affordable housing field requires expertise and tenacity and at times patience. John, you've demonstrated that you were up for the challenge and ready to meet the moment of need in the Commonwealth. Father Bill's is keeping the CDAC staff very busy with its robust pipeline of supportive housing developments. And Father Bill's, as an organization, is an innovator with thoughtful program design using your Housing Resource Center model. The first one, the Yawkey Housing Resource Center, is currently under construction in Quincy and is nearly complete. And we're just across the street, as you mentioned, John, from your hotel conversion project to create permanent supportive housing in a former hotel, the Roadway Inn. And you've also innovated with this use of surplus federal land and planned the adaptive reuse and expansion of this vacant former U.S. Army Reserve Center. And I'm so glad that we've had representatives from the GSA participate in this. You know, this doesn't just happen. 40 years ago, advocates fought to make sure that when surplus federal land became available, that the first right to try and get that would be to serve persons experiencing homelessness. And this is a great example 40 years later of how it's playing out. As John said, CDAC played multiple roles in this project, including our pre-development funding and as DHCD's partner in managing a special pot of these American Rescue Plan Act funds, ARPA, targeted to supportive housing. And I'm so glad we have such great representation from the state delegation here, because the legislature, in deliberating over how to use the ARPA funds that came into the state, decided in its wisdom to use $150 million of that for supportive housing. And this project is getting $8 million of ARPA funds to make this a reality. Jennifer, CDAC's fortunate to have the opportunity to work with your great team, especially the housing development team led by Kate Racer. And I want to give a shout out to CDAC Senior Project Manager Will Morgan, who's been working on this project and all of the other Father Bill's projects in the portfolio. So this is a great day. We are thrilled to be here and look forward to watching the progress.
This is the Inspiration Permanent Housing, our first project together, Father Bill's and MainSpring, when we merged. And now John lives in one of the high rises in the public housing and stuff. So I thought it was fitting to have John say a few words today.
Thank you for each one of you for being here today to take your time of the day to support this big project. Yes, my name is John, and I have to start saying I'm alcoholic addict, but I'm also recovering alcoholic addict. With 15 years of sobriety, day at a time. To Father Bill MainSpring Shelter, and of course all the staff that work with this organization. I arrived to MainSpring Shelter 2007, and I went there broken, holes in my heart, my spirit. And I went there, they opened their door with open arms. And I was to drink and drug and fight the best out right next to MainSpring Shelter. And I went there, and I believe I am a miracle. And I am a labor fruits, fruit of their labor of Father Bill MainSpring Shelter. I can't say good enough. God follow your mom's footsteps and your dad. God bless you. Your father's right here, watching everything you guys do. And Father Bill. Man, I remember 2007, I went to Father Bill MainSpring, I met that man. God, you couldn't find a better man to take over that responsibility. Yes, I love you. Yesterday I can say I love you. Yeah, one man to the other. Because you guys helped me get where I am. And I am who I am the way I am because places like that. Everywhere I go to my meetings, I go to my commitment. And one of the things that I say what I say, and I say what I mean. Father built MainSpring shelter. We always have that special place in my heart. Because God gave me second chance, but they gave me second chance also. And I'm a screwed up guy. I'm not going to stand there and tell you guys that I do everything perfect. But these people now me kick to the side, says me, you screw up, you don't belong here no more. They still work with me. And he calls me, I always go there every other 3 months to pick up some shampoo, some toothpaste. This man helped me pay $2,000 for my bedroom set because I have a health problem. And it's one of those things I can't say enough. But God, Johnny Cass, it's so good to see you today. And I see all you guys, man, supporting this project. Yes, I am addict and alcoholic, and I have a little roof over my head. One foot on front the other. But he has to show me the project they give right here in the motel. I remember 19 years ago, I used to go there drinking, drugging, and get out of there broke, not even money for lunch. And I say, yes, please take me there. I want to see what kind of project you guys did. And I went there, almost cried. The wonderful job they've been doing for the homeless, addicts, and alcoholics. If your Father Bill is watching over you, man, he's proud. That man is proud of you. And I can't say enough. I have 2 minutes. I think I'm an alcoholic anonymous. But thank you so much. I can't thank you guys enough.
I've been blessed with the life that I have, and grew up with a single parent, single mom. Came from Mississippi at an early age. Grew up in the city of Boston. 70s and 80s was some tough years. And seen a lot of things as a young man. And at an early age, I had a passion. I remember going to middle school, going to high school, and they would even call me, hey, you sound like a preacher, even in middle school, high school, because I'll be the one to break up fights. And they'll tell people not to do this, not to do that. But I tell you, at an early age, I grew into loving to do work in communities. Did a lot of work with Denver Street, the Shattuck Hospital in Boston, Area B3, Brockton, Boston Police, and just doing a lot of things with Franklin Field, development, housing, and just had a passion because people like you today reached out to people like me and gave me a second chance. And I felt it my duty to give it back. So coming here to Brockton, and I know somebody said 70s and 80s, he looks young, but Flintstone vitamins will do that to you. We'll talk after the program. But listen, just coming out here to Brockton, and I tell you, being married for 26 years to my lovely wife Eva, she's not here today. Dennis had her working at another project, but we'll talk about that later. I tell you, I came to Brockton and I seen just a night and day. Boston, don't get me wrong, we do an awesome work out there, but it's people like John, our Honorable Mayor, all of you that work on just helping to lower the statistics of homelessness and drugs. And I tell you, I couldn't wait to get to work out here. Upon getting out to Brockton, I found out what City Hall was, and I found Mayor Harrington. I said, what can I do? And I just put myself to work. And I tell you, just speeding up the speech here for you guys can go, but I must say this, upon United Way of Plymouth County, and I thank God that I'm on the board of directors and serve with some awesome people. Just getting to know, not only you, John, but your team. Your team has my cell number. I have their phone number. We call each other. Just recently at the school that I work at, New Heights Charter School, a couple of families had some crisis. And it just feels good that You guys are just accessible and can't be reached. And you know, that one, saving that one family can mean a world. It can really stop a lot of things. So I'm grateful for that today. And everyone that's here, you know, we're here for Father Bills, but I think everyone that's under this tent, there's so much power, there's so much knowledge, there's so many gifts. I think all of us together need to give ourselves a round of applause.
Yeah.
So lastly, as I get ready to pray, we're going to pray a blessing upon this property and this project. I might get in trouble. I have my CEO and boss here, Mr. Dennis Common, but we do something great every year at United Way, and that is a day of caring. And we go out in the community and we help with projects and try to just lend helping hands to services such as you guys, which you provide. And I'm going to throw it out there. I know we're not in a planning process with that, but I see a justifiable reason why everybody under this tent can offer a day of caring to help John get this over the top. I think today is what, May 3rd? Today's May 3rd? So May 3rd is going to be National Father Bill's Day of Caring Day. Is that all right? And I mean that. I mean, I can just picture myself, I'm sitting here, I'm walking around the facility. I mean, there's enough hands here to plant some flowers, paint some rooms, do some cosmetic things, and just the effort. And I have some grandchildren, you guys have grandchildren, children, and the next generation. We can say that we were there from the beginning, and we helped bring this over the top. So congratulations to everyone. Let's put our hands together one more time. John, awesome work for you. To our Honorable Mayor, Mayor Sullivan, I love you, and I just really appreciate the work you do. You pop up everywhere. I was hosting a program for Black History, and we had about 200 people in Charles. He came in a jumpsuit, and I was like, I thought he was an NBA player. I thought he was a mayor. I didn't know he played basketball. But you're awesome. I appreciate your work. So listen, let's bow our heads and let's pray a blessing over this property. Dear God, we thank you for being here today. We're so grateful for the hands that made this possible. All the way from Washington, D.C. to here in Brockton, we thank you for making us truly the city of champions. We ask that as we come together with smiling faces and celebrating this occasion, that we remember that the work must begin. As we leave this place, there is a work. There's going to be people behind the scene putting things together, making it possible for those souls that are on the street will have a place to come in. To the clinicians, to every worker that's going to come into this building, we pray health and strength upon them. And we are so thankful for you giving John the vision and the inspiration to carry out this work. So we ask you to bless this property. Let this property never be the same again. Let it be testimonies to come out through these buildings of people's lives being changed like never before. We ask these dear things in your precious name. Thank God. And everyone say amen? Amen. Amen. Amen.
Paske li ok pou pa ok. Paske pale kapab ran bagay yo miyo. Paske eseye komunike se yon sin fos. Toujou gon rezon pou pataje ki jan ou santi yo. Paske santé mental ou konte.